Design, comparisons, display, iOS 14 software features, cameras, benchmarks, and finally gaming. This is my unboxing and extremely detailed review of the brand spanking new iPhone 12. Starting off here with the box size, it is extremely tiny, and that is for good reason. There is not much that comes inside of the box. Prices at the top right hand corner, cheapest being in the States, most expensive being in India. We only really get one single sticker and a USB Type-C to Lightning port in the box over here, and that's pretty much it. Take those away and you have pretty much just an iPhone 12. I have the product red color over here and it looks absolutely stunning. Here it is in full flesh. You also get the colors in blue, green, black or white, but there is only one product, and that is product red. I must say, from different angles it looks slightly off red, but when you look at it head on, it looks extremely red and really does pop. It's probably my favorite color I've ever seen on a phone. If you do pick up the iPhone 12, I definitely recommend it. It does show a bit of fingerprint smudges, though only in certain lighting. We have an aluminum frame over here as opposed to the stainless steel as seen on the Pro, and we have Gorilla Glass on the back and the front with ceramic shield material. It is extremely thin at just 7.4 millimeters. It is able to go down underwater for 6 meters instead of 2 meters from last year, though it does have a slightly smaller battery, and the 15-watt wireless charging is only at 15 watts if you are using the MagSafe adapter. We have a nice split volume rocker on the left-hand side, which is awesome, and thankfully they haven't ditched the mute switch just yet. We also have a dual SIM tray here. In China, you can use the eSIM globally. Lightning USB, once again, no Type-C over here, and it's still limited to 2.0 speeds. The left speaker grill next to the port is indeed a microphone, and then we have the regular speaker matched up with the top speaker for dual stereo speakers. It is pretty thin, but the camera bump still protrudes a bit, but since it is so minimal compared to something like the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra and OnePlus 8T, it doesn't have much of a surface wobble. Design wise, I think it looks pretty much identical to the last generation iPhone 11s. It is a bit thinner though. It seems a bit thicker since it doesn't have the curvature. It is a nice square box. Not really my preference. I prefer housing it in my hand. It's more comfortable when it's curved, and phones have been doing this for years for good reason. Though it is much lighter, much narrower, and much thinner than all other phones around, but remember it has a 6.1 inch 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio, 86 screen to body ratio percentage. That is, by the way, up from last year. We have a Super Retina XDR OLED 16 million color gamut display over here with a resolution kind of in between Full HD Plus and QHD Plus. But the most notable thing here is that we're lacking a high refresh rate panel. We're still stuck to old school 60 Hz. We'll get to that in a sec. Look at the color accuracy over here. I think that the iPhone 12 looks just as good as the flagship 11 Pro Max before it, but not quite as good as the Note 20 Ultra and the OnePlus 8T. When you get up close and personal with a white background, it really does stand out to other Android devices. They are really bright. They have some of the highest peak brightnesses around. Checking out the hertz over here, if you take a look on the outer skirts, the 120 hertz Android devices as opposed to the 60 hertz in the middle, you can definitely notice the difference over here, but you would have to go into store and feel it for yourself. I can't wait for the, I guess, iPhone 13, maybe the 14 will only get 120 hertz. Long way away, but hopefully that comes soon. I suggest maybe you wait for that, but there is still some interesting features over here. We have the usual display options that we usually get. We also have auto brightness tucked away in the accessibilities menu, as well as the reduce motion effect here, which kind of gives it a strange motion. It doesn't really make it much faster when you transition between screens, but it gives it a bit of a different effect. I prefer the regular animation that you get. We do have dark mode here, though Android is moving on to different phases of dark mode. It is kind of a grayish off black over here, and it does work in first-party applications and some third-party, though it changes the dark mode a bit, but certain third-party apps like Facebook it doesn't actually work with, and it does change your widgets on your home screen to go dark too, which is absolutely epic. Speaking about widgets, we do have iOS 14.1 available on previous generation models. Widgets look absolutely awesome. If you don't have them, it looked like my 11 Pro Max there on the right. You can pretty much just hold down, go into the jiggle effect on your home screen, grab any widget that you like and throw it on your screen. Once you have it set up, it looks awesome. You can also hide a page and bring it back later if you'd like to use certain pages, say only during holiday season, and bringing it back looks pretty cool. You also get certain customization widgets such as this color widget over here, and you can make a nice looking time timer and calendar at the top over there. We also have the stack where you can flick between certain things, and overall iOS 14 feels pretty neat, but it doesn't really feel like a fresh upgrade over iOS 13 aside from the widgets. We have our regular multitasking around here, flicking between apps quickly, as well as a decent pull down for one-handed mode, and the usual, I would say, 3D tap, but that is a thing of the past. We can also hold down icons, group them together, and then throw them into a folder, which is great, but we've seen that before. And we can create shortcuts. You can pretty much make an action to open up an app, set any picture you'd like, and set a name, or just completely leave it blank. In order for it to open up the app that you want, any app that you'd like, so that you can have a nicer looking icon, pretty much making your own custom themes. But every time you go into an app that you create through a shortcut, it opens up the Siri shortcuts actual app before it goes into your app, which kind of sucks. We also have something called PIP over here, picture in picture, PIP, and it works with apps where developers have already jumped onto the bandwagon over here, such as Twitch. It works pretty well, but going into an app such as YouTube, it doesn't do as much of a great job. Actually, it does absolutely nothing. Let's test out this other feature over here, which we did see introduced in iOS 13, where you can copy, paste, and undo with 3-finger pinching. And of course, we still have Siri. Hey Siri.
Yeah?
Remind me at 4 p.m. today to take the beers out the fridge.
Okay, add it to today's reminders.
We still have 3D face unlock here. Unfortunately, no under display fingerprint sensor like we were assuming would happen with the iPhone 12s this year. It is a tad quicker than the previous generations, though, using the same facial recognition system. A lot quicker than the unsecured 2D face unlock of the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, but still not quite as quick and as efficient as the ultrasonic sensor that Samsung has to offer. The facial recognition is a slight bit quicker on the OnePlus 8T, and the fingerprint sensor is as well. We have the same 12 megapixel selfie snapper that we've been using for the past couple years now. It still looks absolutely great. No need to change things. The software optimizations are doing a great job over here. What's up, guys? This is TechNick recording a 4K 60 frames per second video on the brand spanking new iPhone 12. Not the Pro model, even the regular model can sport up to 4K 60 frames per second when recording using the selfie cam. Let me know what you guys think of the video quality as well as the audio quality. At the back of the phone, we have the same main 12 megapixel and ultra wide 12 megapixel that we've seen in previous years, though the main now has a wider aperture than the iPhone 11, so it should allow in for more light. The Pro model also has a telephoto and a 3D TOF lens that is lacking in this one, and you will notice as soon as we go to zooming in, digital wise, it does not look good, and the max zoom that you have is 5 times, though the ultra wide and the main shots still look absolutely phenomenal, and there is a lot of sun hitting this shot right now. We also have some natural bokeh looking effect over here. As soon as we shoot into portrait mode, we do see a bit of edge detection over there, and we also have this cool funky high key light mono theme over there when it comes to portraits, which looks great. Of course, we have 1080p at 60 frames per second using the main camera at the back. We also have 4K 60 FPS, which is great. It's always nice and smooth on all iPhones, pretty much exactly the same personally as I tested out with my iPhone 11 Pro Max or the average 11. 1080p 60 ultra wide is there. Unfortunately, we don't have 4K 60 ultra wide with the standard iPhone 12 model. We're limited to 4K 30 frames per second. I did indeed test this out. Many sites online actually say that it does have 60. It is indeed capped at 30 over here, and we don't have an image stabilization option, though it is really stabilized when you are running, though you do dip in quality a bit when you move quite a lot, though 1080p you can do at 60 and ultra wide, and it looks fantastic. We also have something new here called Dolby Vision HDR running in 10-bit color. It is capped at 30 frames per second when running in 4K on the iPhone 12. The Pro models can go up to 60 FPS, but it still looks phenomenal, and the focusing on this phone is just as great as previous generations. No complaining over here. But we also have to test out the performance of the actual chipset, the new 5nm Apple A14 Bionic Hexacore chip, which can boost all the way up to 3.1 gigahertz clock speeds. We're going to start here with the battery percentage as well as the temp using a heat gun with an emissivity level of 0.5, since that seems to be the best for electronics, and compare it at the end, which we'll get to right now. It was draining by 20.11 milliamp hours per minute. The 11 Pro Max with a much bigger battery did it in almost 20 milliamp hours per minute, so it's not terrible, and it did peak at a higher heat than the 11 Pro Max, but it added less degrees in Celsius. The iPhone 12 has not really impressed me with its final result with around 540 150,000 points. Definitely better than the previous generation models, and the best from Qualcomm is still running on 7nm plus technology, and it hit well over 600,000 points. Now it's time to test out Geekbench 5. I'm going to run the CPU test and GPU test at the same time over here, and here are the results. CPU single and multi-core results are pretty decent over here, a big jump over the previous iPhone models and quite a big jump over the average Snapdragon 865 Plus performance. When it comes to the GPU test, we were running Metal API over here. Android uses Vulkan, very similar to Metal, so the scores shouldn't be too off, though the iPhone got pretty much double. And of course, the iPhone 12 can still play games even though it lacks a high refresh rate panel. But first, let's test out the audio quality. Nice and smooth running and gunning over here with a solid 60 FPS. I chose Critical Ops as my second game over here since it has an inbuilt FPS counter at the top right corner. Max graphics over here, and we're sitting at pretty much a solid 60 FPS, which is awesome. What matters here is that we're sitting at 60, unfortunately, not higher than that since we're capped at 60. I really wish there was a high refresh rate panel here. There's not much in the box of the iPhone 12, but alone it is just an absolutely stunning device. It doesn't have many upgrades to its predecessors, but it just looks absolutely fantastic. I like the look of the boxy design, but I'm not the biggest fan of how it feels in the hand. The screen up front is finally OLED for the baseline 12 model, but unfortunately we are lacking a high refresh rate panel, but it still plays games like a champ, and that 4-core GPU chip running inside the A14 Bionic chip does a great job even in benchmarks. The camera system on the front and the back does great for a phone at this price range, and its software experience is like no other. I say that because you can only get iOS on an iPhone, but there are other contenders out there. You could pick up one of the best flagships around from Samsung, Apple, OnePlus, or even Xiaomi for cheaper. You can splurge for some of the best gaming phones around. You could save your money and get a mid-range flagship, or you can pick up one of the best all-rounders or one of the cheapest phones around. But at the end of the day, you're paying for the brand, you're paying for Apple, you're paying for iPhone, and just for that reason alone, I can definitely recommend it. I don't think it is a massive upgrade if you're coming from the previous generation of iPhones, but if you're new to the iPhone realm, definitely go for the iPhone 12 instead of the other three.